Hey everyone, it's Kabir here. So today we are going to understand about Ajax concept. So what is Ajax, right? Now, why we have to go with the Ajax? Now, this plays a very important role when you are going to develop some kind of a website. Obviously, you have to deal with this server calls, right? Now, Ajax will deal with the server calls. What do you mean by that? So let us understand this with the diagram. Now, you have a client application which you are going to build in React, Angular, or plain JavaScript or some other framework. So let us consider we have a client application which we are building in a plain JavaScript, right? Now, we wanted to display some kind of data in a table format, some user data. There are some 10 or 20 users which are registered with our applications. Now, we wanted to print their data in a table format, but the actually data is present in the database, right? Now we have a database, like what kind of database it might be. Like it might be a NoSQL or a SQL, it might be Oracle or SQL Server or MySQL, or it might be a MongoDB. So let us consider it is a MongoDB database, right? Now in this database we have some kind of data. Now data is nothing but we have the data of some 10 or 20 users. So let me define it as a database, and this is our client, right? Client application which is built in pure JavaScript, right? Now we have some data in the database, like the data of 10 users. Now I wanted to display this particular data in the client in a table format. Okay, now this particular data present in our data in JSON format, but if we going to give or print same JSON format to the users, will they able to understand? No. So for the users we have to make it in a proper structure. So that is what we as a front end engineer we are going to do, right? We are going to display the data in proper format. For example, it might be in a list format, or it might be in a table format, or any some other format, right? Now as a client, as a front end engineer, you have to get this data. Right now, if you want to get this data, you have to send some information to this database, and you have to tell that, okay, I want this 10 users data. Right now, telling this data is nothing but you have to send a request. Now whenever you wanted to send a request to a database, right, now directly a client cannot send a request to a database. So for that, as a mediator, we require someone that is nothing but a server. So let us understand, we have a server as a mediator. So what server is going to do? So this server application is built using some kind of technology. It might be a Java, it might be a Node Express, or it might be a .NET. So let us consider it has been built using the Express.js. Okay, this is your server side. Now you have to tell to this server that I want the data of 10 users, okay, from the client. So you have to send a request, right? Now to send a request, you require some kind of technology or some methods. That technology or method is nothing but Ajax. Now the Ajax roles comes here. Now to send a request and to get a response from a server, the if you wanted to do such operations, you need require some set of methods or a technology. That technology is called Ajax. Now the concept of Ajax comes here, right? Now what you are going to do as a client, you will be telling that I want a data of 10 users. So you are going to send a request. Now this request is going to be received by this server. Now it is going to perform some operations, is nothing but it is going to execute some kind of lines here, right? Now what this particular person will do, it will connect to the database. Okay, now it will tell, okay, this particular client require some kind of data, is nothing but a user data, please give me that data. Now this data will send this data to a server. Okay, now we got the data near server. Now what server will do, it will take the data, it will do some operations, nothing but it will execute some set of lines of a code, and it will send this particular data to a client in a JSON format. Now we are going to see how the JSON format looks, how data is going to come from the server. As a front end part, as a front end engineer, your work is just to send the data and you have to receive the data. Once you have received the data, then your work is going to be started. What you are going to do, you are going to do display that particular data in proper UI. That's nothing but user interface, so that a end user can understand properly. So this is the concept of your Ajax. So to send the request and to get the response, we require a technology. That technology is called Ajax. So we are going to learn in this particular video how to send a request, how to get the response, how to get the data. Now this part, right? Now let me consider this part. Okay, this part. Now this part is not our job, right? Now someone will do this job and he will give you the data. Once you got the data, now your job starts. What you have to do, you have to display the data in particular user interface. Okay, now to do this one, we require a technology called Ajax. Now let us see how Ajax works and what set of methods we require to send a request. So let us come to our VS Code. Now here I'm going to create a file called ajax.html, right? So ajax.html. Now this is a HTML file. So we required a skeleton of a HTML. So for that we know that doc tab, just click on tab button. So you will got the skeleton of your HTML. Now what is our requirement? I am going to create or implement a simple button. Once I have clicked on that button, a request will go to a server. It will fetch all the data and it will display. That's a simple requirement. So we require just simple button. So I'm going to take a button. That's it, right? Now the button name will be something like get data from server. That's it, guys, right? Now when a request should go, once we have clicked on this particular button, means we have to trigger an event, and that event is nothing but your on click event. So I'll be writing on click. So once on click event is triggered, a function is going to be executed. So let's write the name of function is nothing but fn get data. So this function has to be called, means we have to implement this function. So every logic what we wanted to write and send, I mean logic is nothing but we have to send a request and we have to get the data. So to do this part we have to write some logic. That logic we are going to write in the function fn get data. So how can we write a JavaScript code in an HTML using a tag called script? So here I'm going to write a script tag. Okay, in the script tag I have wanted to define this particular function. So function fn get data. Okay, we require done. Now if you wanted to send a request, right, what do you require? You require two things. What is the type of method and the URL to which you wanted to hit, right? So as a client you require method type. So we have many method types, but normally we are going to use some kind of method types, nothing but get. One of the method type is get. Next is like you have something like post, then you have something like put, and we have something like delete. Now what is this method type? Now depending upon the method type, your server is going to understand what kind of operation you wanted to perform. Now what kind of operation you can do? First of all, you can get some data from database, the data which is already existing in your database. This might be a first scenario. Second scenario, you might, as a client, you might be sending some data to a server and telling the server that store this particular data in the database. Right now you are sending the data, you are not taking the data, you are sending the data. This might be the second case. Third case, there might be some data already existing in your database. Now you wanted to update some fields in that particular data. Now, for example, you have a data of a person like his name, his city, his phone number, his email ID. Now, you wanted to update his phone number, right? Now, so that you wanted to send that new phone number and you will to the server and telling to the server that please update this number with the old data. So you are going to do updation, right? Now fourth scenario, it might be like you wanted to delete, like you wanted to delete the record of email. You don't want to maintain the email of a username, you wanted to delete, right? It might be the fourth. So how a server can understand? They can understand using this method types. If this is a get, if you are going to send a get request, it means you are going to receive a or a retrieve a data from database. Post method, if you are using post method, it means you are sending some data to a server. Put means update and delete is for the delete. Normally for updation also we can use the post, but it depends how you want it to use. So these are the four. So you required any one of the method. Now in this scenario, we wanted to get the data from database, means we have to use the get. Now the information of this method type will be given by the server people. As a you are a front end engineer, right? You will be responsible to develop a front end, whereas your back end or a database will be managed by some other engineers, right? So whether you have to perform a get or you have to perform a post or put, which method you require, right? That information will be provided by the server. This is the first information. Now second information, what do you require is URL. Now URL is nothing but a location where you want, where your data is present, which method you have to send the request. All that information is like, just consider URL is like a location. You should know the location, right? If you know the location, then only you can send a request. Okay, that URL will be provided by the server. Again, it will be provided by the server because this URL will be constructed by the server side people. So as a client, if you wanted to send a request, you required minimum two things. The first thing is method type, which what is the method type and what is the URL. If you know these two things, you can send a request. Okay, this is the first thing. Now if you wanted to send a request, first of all, the first step is you have to prepare the request, right? You have to prepare the request. Now if you wanted to prepare a request, you required a set of method, right? The method name is called open. Now, whenever you are going to call a open method by passing some arguments, a request is going to be prepared. Now, where this method is present, how you can call this method, okay? Now, this method is present in the class called XML HTTP request. Now, what is this XML HTTP request? This is a class. Now, what is class? Class is nothing but collection of some methods and some variables, right? Now, it contains some methods and some variables. Now, just writing a class is nothing but there is a no use. You wanted to provide a memory to this particular class. So, what do you mean by memory, right? If you provide a memory for this class is nothing but a memory will be provided, and whatever the methods and the variables are present in this class, they will get some kind of memory. If they are allocated some memory, if they are present in the memory, then only you can access, right? Now if you wanted to access this open method which is present in this class, first of all you have to allocate some memory to this particular method, then only you can call this method, right? Now if you wanted to allocate a memory for a class, it means you have to create a object. What do you mean by creation of a object? Creation of a object is nothing but you are going to allocate a memory for all the members or the variables or the methods which are present in this class. For them you are going to give a some kind of memory. Now if you wanted to give some kind of memory, you have to use a operator called new operator. Now the information about this classes, how we have to create a object, you will be learning in the object oriented video, right? So as of now, just remember, now if you wanted to use any method or a variable of this class, means the method and variables which are present in this class, if you wanted to use, you have to create a memory for them. Now how you can create a memory? You can create a memory using a keyword called new. So you have to use the new keyword, and you have to call one function which is a special function, right? Which is a special method. The name of that method is called constructor. You have to call a constructor method using this operator, new operator. Now what will be the name of a constructor? What will be the name of that method? You don't know, right? So it's very easy. Whatever the class name is there, The same name will be the name of that particular constructor. What that constructor is going to do, that constructor is going to initialize and create a memory for your methods which are present in this particular class. So now we have a class called XML HTTP request. So what will be the constructor? It will be the same name, XML HTTP request. That's it. This is a constructor, means it is a method, it is a function. So we have to call like this, right? Now we know how to call a function or a method, right? Now you created an object, means you created a memory for this particular class members. Now what are the members? Nothing but the methods and the variables which are present in this class. Now it will return you the reference of the memory location. It means, for example, this is a class which has some methods, right? Now it has a method like open, and it has some method like send. It has some variables like response text, response XML, response JSON. You have so many things, right? These methods and the variables got some memory. So they are in some memory. Now this memory will have some address, right? This memory will have some kind of address. So some location, something like some location it has, right? Now this location will be returned. So we have, if it is returned, then we have to catch, right? So how can we catch? Simple, where you have to say object or some name we have to give. That's it. This particular location will be stored in this obj reference. Now if you wanted to call this open method, right, how you will be calling? It's simple. You have to say obj reference, means you are indicating this particular location dot open. It means what your JavaScript engine will do, it will see what is the memory location present in this reference. Okay, then it will go to that particular location. Now it will see which method you are calling. In this memory, it will search whether this particular method is present or not. Yes, it is present, then it will call. That's simple. Now if you wanted to call response text, what you have to do, you have to say obj reference dot response text. So what it will do, first it will search what is the memory location present in this reference. This is the present, then it will go to that particular memory location. What did you call? Response text. Now in this memory, it will search whether response text is present or not. Yeah, we found response text, then it will call that particular variable. That's simple. Now just consider you are calling something like obj rf dot something like save. Now it will see again objref what is the memory location it has present. It will go to that particular memory location. Now it will search save. Do we have the save here? We don't have the save. It will throw the error by saying that save is not present in this particular memory location. That's a simple concept of your class. So now if you wanted to send a request, you have to call some set of methods. That set of methods are present in this class. So if you wanted to use that set of methods, first of all, you have to create a memory. So how can you create a memory? By using where objref equals to new XML HTTP request, means you have to call a constructor. Now here you can give any name. I'm taking obj reference, you can take any name, right? Now this is called, first of all, we have to create a memory. Now after creating a memory, first now you have the access all to all that members, all that methods and variables. Now first thing, if you wanted to send a request, means you have to prepare the request. How you can prepare a request? Using a method called open. You have to call the open method and you have to pass some arguments. What are the arguments? The first argument you have to pass what is the method type, and this information you are going to get from the server side people. Okay, now second argument you have to pass the URL. Now that also you are going to get from the server people. So you got the method type, you got the URL, so you can prepare a request by calling this particular method. The first thing done. Now second thing, you wanted to send. To send the request, you have a method called send. The name of that method is called send. Now if you are passing any data to a server, you wanted to pass some data, you wanted to give some data to a server, then you have to pass that data as an argument to the send. If you don't wanted to pass any data, just you wanted to take the data, just call simple send method. That's it. Okay, so the first thing, we have to prepare the request. So to prepare the request, we have to allocate the memory. So how can we allocate? New, we have to call the constructor XML HTTP request. Guys, remember XML is in a capital, H is in a capital, and R is a capital. Rest of the letters are in the small letters. So we have to call. Now it will return the reference. So equals to, we will be catching that reference. So here I will be taking REQ reference is nothing but request reference. That's it. Now we have created a memory. Now I want to prepare the request. First of all, to send a request, we have to prepare. So how we can prepare? REQ reference dot open. Now it will take three three arguments. As of now we are just considering two arguments. The first is method type, so we require a get. That's it. Now second is URL. Now if you want a data, we have a website called Json Placeholder, which is like a website which is going to provide you random data. So just go to your Chrome, just search for Json Placeholder. Now once you open this website, just go down. Now these are the URLs: post, comment, album, photos, to-dos, users, right? Now if you click on the users, it will give some information of some random users, right? Now this is the data you are going to get the server if you hit this URL. Now this data, whatever the data you are getting this, right? Now we have to display this data in particular format, like it might be a table format, list format, or card format, whatever it might be. So you are going to get this kind of data. Now how you are getting this data, right? For that they wrote some server side technology they have used. They wrote some code, they are maintaining some database. Now they are doing whatever they wanted to do. Like if you come here, this part, right, this part is done by Json Placeholder. This, what, just you send the request, they will take that request and they will write some logic, they will execute some logic, they will take that 10 users data and they will give you. That's it. As a client side engineer or a front end engineer, you have to just send the request to the URL. Then after sending the URL, they will do something and they will give the response. What response they are going to give? This response you are going to give. So we have to get this particular response. So we required a method type. So they told if you want this particular data, you have to use get method and you have to use this particular URL. So just copy this URL. So now to prepare a request, we have called a method called open. It is going to take two arguments, method type and the URL. That's it. We prepared the request. Now we wanted to send the request, right? So for that we have to call the method called open. Sorry, we have to call the method called send. So it's like request reference dot send. So what happened? Okay, now coming here, you have sent or you have created the request and you have sent the request. Now they got the request, they understood that URL and method type, they did some operation, they connected to the database, they fetched the data. I mean, they took all the data which is present in their database and they are going to return us. Now while sending the request, there might be a success request, it might go everything well, or there might be some network error, you might got some error, right? So Ajax is going to provide you some two methods, right? One is called onload. This method is going to be called by Ajax people. When they will call this method? If everything goes well, if you have the proper response, you got success response, then they will trigger onload method. So how we have to call onload method? Simple, request reference dot onload. Here I'm going to take one arrow function. So this method will be triggered by Ajax people if everything goes well. If there is some error, it might be a network issue or there might be a wrong with some URL, whatever it might be. If they got some error, then they are going to trigger one more method called onError. So how we have to call? Request reference dot onError. That's it. So any one method will be triggered. It might be onload or it might be on error. If everything goes well, then onload will be triggered. If something, some error you got somewhere, then on error you will get, right? It will be triggered. So alert. So here I am writing something like network error. So who will call these two functions? This will be called by Ajax. Who is calling these two functions? These two functions are calling by us, right? So you have to remember these two things. If everything goes well, if we got the response, right, this method will be triggered. And whatever the response we are getting, right, whatever the data we are getting, this data will be stored in a variable. That data will be stored in that variable by the Ajax people, right, by the Ajax library, Ajax functionality. The name of that variable is response text. So how we can call a variable which is present in a class using the same? We have to call the reference request ref dot response text. If you call this one, it will return the data which you got from the server. It is returning means we have to catch. So I will say where response equals to, or we can say instead of data from server. So we got the data from server. You can write any variable. That's it. So what you have did, you prepared the request, you send the request. If everything goes well, this method will be triggered, and whatever the response is going to come, it will be stored in response text. So you are retrieving that response from response text and storing in a variable called data from server. In case there is a some error in network error, or it might be internet issue or URL wrong or something went wrong, then it will, Ajax is going to trigger on error method. Then this particular method will be triggered. That time this particular method will not be triggered. So you are going to get alert. So here also we will be writing one alert, right? So I will be saying something like success. It means if we got success alert, means everything went well. If we got network error, it means we got some error. That's it. So this is the Ajax. This is the way we have to send a request to a server using plain JavaScript. Now this is the one way, and one more method we have fetch, that we will be seeing in other video, right? We have one more way to send a request called fetch. Now this is a traditional way how we can send a request to a server using a Ajax technology, using a small, I mean not small, but we have only class called XML HTTP request. Now this class is going to provide this set of methods: open, send, onload, on error, this variable, response text. This everything is present in this particular class. That's it. So now right click, go to our browser. Now we have the button. So if we are going to click on this button, this particular function is going to be called and this particular lines will be executed, and we are going to get the response from this particular URL. Now if you click, now you got the success, means everything went well. Now you wanted to see the data. So if you wanted to see the data, how we can see? Just let's do one thing. Let's write console dot log of data from server. Okay. Now come here, refresh it. Now click. Now we got the success. Now right click, go to inspect, go to your console tab. Now you got the data. This is the data what we got. Now this data is present in your client. Now you can construct a table. So in the next video, what we are going to do, we are going to display this particular data in the table format. How we can build a table dynamically and how we can display this particular data in table format. This we will be seeing the next video, right? In that table, we are going to print this username, email, and the CT and phone number, or and company name if we want, or else we can print only 4 variable. We don't want it to print everything. We wanted to print only few data which is we are getting from the server. Now this is the disadvantage you got in the REST API. See, unnecessarily you don't want it to print this geo location, right? Then you don't want it to print a straight suit, but still you are getting this data. Now this thing you can solve using the a technology called GraphQL that you will be learning in the future. So just guys search about GraphQL. Now it is going to replace your REST API in the future. That's sure. So this is the one thing. Now we got the response. Now this particular, if you are going to print this response as it is in the browser, will user understands? they are not going to understand. So what is the job of a front end engineer? To represent this data in proper UI. That's the work of a front end engineer, a front engineer, front end engineer, or a front end developer, whatever you can say, right? Now this is the thing. So this is the concept of Ajax. Now we just saw how to send a request. Now if you wanted to uh, send some data to server, right? Or you wanted to update or you wanted to delete, then you should have some knowledge of server, and there should be application which is going to be built in the server side, and you should have a database to see that one, right? That we will be seeing in the future. So as of now, you should know how to get the data and how to print, because whenever you are going to give interview, right, they are going to ask this thing. They will give this URL and they will say method type is get. Now just send a request, you will get some data, display the data in the card format or in table format or in list format, whatever format they are going to see. This is the common task you are going to get whenever you will attend for interview. This might be a first round or this might be a third round, but this will be a mandatory round. Okay guys, so that's all guys for this video. Thank you. And one more thing, that we are going to start a workshop on React, which will be like 7 days workshop, where we are going to build a small application using the React. So here we are not going to cover everything in the React. We are going to just give a test of React, how React behaves, what are the advantage of React. Now, what is the disadvantage of JavaScript, you will be seeing in the next video. Just try to see the next video, which we will be releasing tomorrow, right? The next video will be nothing but we have to print this data dynamically in the table format. If we are going to get 10 users, there should be only 10 rows. If we are getting only 15 users, then there should be only 15 rows. How we can do that dynamically? So that's what we are going to see in the next video. So guys, if you are interested in this particular workshop, you can see the number of Santosh in the description. You can contact him and you can get complete details. Okay guys, that's all guys. Thank you for watching the video.